The following SpongePod is brought to you by Guppies R Us. Hey Tim, do you believe the act of having a child is inherently selfish or unselfish?
Wow, not a question I accept. Are we doing this for the ad? Is this for the ad? Oh, this is the ad copy.
What do you think?
Gosh, I don't know. I mean, it's, pretty unselfish considering parenting, but a little selfish considering like the environment. I don't know. That's like a huge balance. I'm sorry. I wasn't ready for that one today.
Well, if you ever decide on having a child, make sure to check out Guppies R Us. With all of their plankton-sized shirts and all their plankton-sized hats and pants, you're obviously going to find a shirt that tries to show off your ironic sense of humor, right? Just like existentially questioning having children in the midst of a children's clothing ad.
Oh, I kind of get it now. But, I mean, who doesn't love seeing an ironic t-shirt on a baby?
Oh, I think I don't. There are not nearly that many cool fathers.
That's fair.
All of these dads are not nerds. There's no way. There's no way. Anyway, go check out Guppies R Us for all of your guppy shopping needs. And welcome to the SpongePod, the official, unofficial podcast of SpongeBob SquarePants, where we overanalyze every single episode and get down to the bikini bottom of your fan theories. I'm your host and in-house SpongeBob expert, Eric. Are you ready, Tim?
Aye, Captain.
Wow, that was a drunken stupor of one.
Put some mustard on that one.
Yeah, you were like the captain in Jaws on that one. Going hard. Going hard. Well, I'm happy that you were so authentically excited to be here on the SpongePod. I gotta say, man, I'm feeling a bit lethargic.
Yeah,
I'm feeling a bit run down from the week. I don't know if you can. I know you just just busted out your seams with this energy, but I don't know. How you feeling, buddy?
I'm feeling all right. I am feeling a little tired because I picked up my second job, so just working that is kind of a lot.
Your first job being the SpongePod.
Right, my first job being but we were off for a year and a half. So
yeah, we gotta make that money back.
I had to really make the
I gotta say though, this corporate gig, the SpongePod, is just really running me down. So I gotta say, this episode being the Nature Pants episode in which SpongeBob basically goes off into the wild was just really refreshing. It was cool to see a piece of art represent me, who hates this corporate culture that is the SpongePod.
Sure.
And I'm just happy that we're here analyzing the SpongePod. I hope you guys had a great week. Happy Saturday. We are here. It is the weekend. Enjoy yourself some Saturday morning cartoons and sit down with us for the SpongePod. Just want to make sure you check out our Twitter, our Facebook at the SpongePod, as well as our YouTube. We did have a single episode of the SpongePod that had like 20,000 views, which is hilarious. I was like, incredible. What Russian bot got onto our SpongePod channel? But anyway, if you get a weird Russian email from the SpongePod, do not click on it. Also, send us your emails. If you ever have any questions or anything you want us to cover, we'd love to chat about it here on the SpongePod. And today we're going to have a great segment with our nature boy, Michael Gearhart. That'll be awesome. I'm excited for that segment for you guys to hear it. All right, let's jump right into the first act. It's a normal Tuesday at the Krusty Krab, and all of a sudden, the ingredients for the Krabby Patties start turning into jellyfish. SpongeBob imagines himself floating with the jellies, and it turns out that he's daydreaming while he is at work. As he is floating with the jellies in his mind, the Krabby Patties in front of him catch fire, and Mr. Krabs breaks in right before a massive fire starts. The firefighters also come in, spray water on SpongeBob, making him grow as he soaks the water until he finally falls on the fire to kill it. The burnt sponge then joins Mr. Krabs in his office and admits he is questioning his existence in this big corporate world, wanting to change pace and join a more natural life. Mr. Krabs laughs this off and shows SpongeBob his actual natural habitat, being the kitchen, but SpongeBob sneaks off, taking his pants off and going off into the wild, Right after giving his possessions to Squidward, Sandy, and Patrick, he starts his new life in the wild. That was a little wild of a segment because this is so. I gotta say this right off the bat. There's a real character break here because SpongeBob is normally like really into his work. He's really into making Krabby Patties, serving the great people of Bikini Bottom. But this is a real character break. And what do you think led to that?
I don't know. I mean, it's funny because this is the episode before we talked about how he basically like works at the Krusty Krab for free for like a week.
True.
And he like paints it. I just wonder if he just finally...
Well, it's got to wear on a sponge.
Yeah.
It's got to wear on a sponge to be working all the live long day and to basically give your paycheck to Mr. Krabs for $2 set of sneakers.
Right. Exactly.
And you know what I mean? Like he's not getting ahead on his pineapple mortgage.
Yeah.
He's got back taxes because of that, that sponge he had, with that other sponge back in high school. He has a bunch of, we can't talk about that on this podcast. We don't want the explicit rating from Apple. But it's one of those things that it's just funny to see these situations because I feel like normally it either leads to somebody like murdering an entire neighborhood of people,
right,
or it's like the next iPod comes out,
right?
It's like either you can go either really good or really bad with this. This episode, debatably, he goes a tiny bit bad. Yeah. What did you see? What did you have fan theory wise?
So I was scanning natgeo.com for jellyfish theories, recipes. And we got this one from Jane Moodall 2OG.
Okay.
I assume she or they says, one does not choose to join the wild, but is naturally found in his natural habitat. A fish swims in the sea, a monkey climbs in the wood, and a SpongeBob cooks up some Krabby Patties.
Okay. So this theory would suggest essentially that SpongeBob's actual natural habitat, a sponge that wears a shirt and pants. Yeah. His natural habitat is actually cooking Krabby Patties. What do you think about that? I mean, do you think that that's a bit degrading to SpongeBob, or do you think that that's actually accurate?
I think this person has really put SpongeBob in a box.
Okay.
And made so that he doesn't,
You see, but that's also something that he's incredibly passionate about.
That is true. Yeah, that's a good point.
I mean, there's an aspect to, being passionate about something and wanting to do something, kind of wishing it into existence, and then to sort of switch your nature all of a sudden and try to pursue something differently. It just, I don't know.
I mean, clearly what the real thing is SpongeBob needs to just like take a week off. Like he doesn't need he kind of blows up his life.
He needs to take a week off. He needs to go buy a red Corvette.
Right.
Or lease it at least.
Yeah.
He needs to
rent it.
Go off to California and see if he can start that punk rock band that he always wanted to do with his buddy Chaz.
Right.
Right. He needs to
Chaz on bass.
apply for NASA and see if it works out.
Yeah.
He has to live some life. He has to go to New Zealand, see if he can pet a pig.
Right.
He needs to figure his life out. He needs to go see he needs to go see the pyramids. He needs to see the big stack of dirt that we did back then. Yeah. The only other thing that I noticed here is that there's this big fire in the water, which is just it's jarring to think about that. It's funny to think about because it's sort of assimilating to real life. The fact that a grease grill would eventually catch fire. But the fact that they couldn't come up with any other way in which this grease grill, I don't know. It just...
Yeah. I also love that there was one fireman.
That and doesn't water contribute to grease fires?
I think it does actually, yeah.
So theoretically this operational grease fire or grease grill would be just a fire machine in the water.
Right. I mean, the real thing is I love, by the way, that SpongeBob throws the fire extinguisher at the grill.
He's though that's ever going to do anything, right?
That's really the way to go, though, is to use the fire extinguisher.
That's true. All right, so on to Act 2. SpongeBob rips off his clothes and starts his life off in the wild. SpongeBob naturally lands in Jellyfish Fields and finds a bloom of jellyfish. He uses his fishy instincts to buzz around the field, frolicking with his all-natural peers. He attempts to devour a handful of kelp only to learn he has abandoned the comforts of good foods and that now it is just pure sustenance. He attempts to greet one of his fellow jellyfish only to be stung by the beast. He comes across Patrick and Sandy enjoying a nice picnic in the field, which turns into a ruse to get our hero back with Patrick and Sandy. He refuses as our heroes are just trying to find a way to live without our beloved SpongePod. There's a lot going on here, right? The first thing that kind of comes to my mind is like, where exactly would I go? So for those of you who don't know, the SpongePod is recorded here in the beautiful Indianapolis, Indiana. I'm just kind of thinking like right off the top of my head, like where would I go to live an all natural life? Where would you go?
There are some options like, Indiana's pretty rural.
It's pretty vast.
Yeah.
You have a really good city, but you also have like the rolling hills and you have a lot of farm.
I always like, there's some pretty good like natural or like state parks.
Okay.
I love like I think it's called Yellowwood State Park.
Okay.
It's near Bloomington.
Interesting.
Been there before. Really nice.
So you would stay in Indy.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh, you were thinking like beyond.
I would. Yeah, I probably would. If I had to go off the map, I probably would go to like an Italy.
Oh,
of some sort. Or I would like. I don't really know. I think Italy would be a good one. I'd probably stay far away from South America or like Africa type area.
That's like too much.
Yeah. I also probably stay away from like Greenland and like
that's fair.
Antarctica.
Yeah, you don't want to.
I don't even know if people actually like live there. I feel like it'd be cool to live in Alaska. That might be a pretty cool place to go.
That'd take some survival, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so going off in the wild would be kind of fun. It's something that I think we all think about every now and then because I read this article the other day that this guy hasn't like showered in 2 years and like apparently his skin is like perfect. And it's funny because like you got to think about like. If you're a God-fearing person, God didn't build us with the bathtub in mind.
Right, yeah.
So it's like our body has some sort of mechanism to take care of itself.
Right.
And so you kind of gotta think like, is all this conditioner I'm putting in my hair, like, is that really helping me or am I just like contributing to, one day hopefully not getting cancer?
Right.
Yeah. So there's an element of that I don't know. I always think about like the more natural ways in which I could do things. And it usually just contributes to me forgetting to brush my teeth. But ultimately, here we are with the SpongePod. We're both healthy for the most part, right? I mean,
so.
you got that one thing, but otherwise, we don't want to talk about that. Anyway, What did you find on the interwebs?
So this is a theory from a Reddit user who we really love. This is Leave Irwin 293 on Reddit they say SpongeBob would be jarred by the stinging he endured, that it would be within the sight of Sandy and Patrick to capture him and try to seek mental health advice. Our societies has ways to intervene in these types of situations.
Which that's pretty interesting. I feel like that's a pretty aggressive approach.
Sure.
That could create some resentment.
Yeah.
I probably wouldn't necessarily confide in a friend like that who is sort of just pawning me off to whatever psychological help they think I need.
Yeah. But that does bring up the question of like, should Sandy and Patrick have gone farther?
Is he in a danger to himself?
Right, yeah.
Or a danger to the rest of the society?
Even the jellyfish, if you think about it that way.
Yeah, he could have probably messed up some sort of jellyfish society in that sense. Mm-hmm. I do kind of question, though, like the need to fix everything. Right. Like we have this like real 100%. Need that like, oh, this thing hurts and it shouldn't hurt.
Right, yeah.
Like I felt my foot not hurt before. So why does my foot hurt? Mm. And it's like sometimes things are just broken and you gotta kind of experience it. And I commend SpongeBob here because I have always been the type of person that thought if you have this real idea that you need to go and do, too many people just buy pizza and play board games at night instead of like going out and doing the thing that they want to do, no matter how arbitrary or impossible it is. You know, SpongeBob took off his pants and he did it.
And he did. That's the lesson here. Take off your pants and do it.
Exactly. He also didn't. Exactly. That's the clip of this whole thing. Yeah. No, but he also didn't like require like a TV crew to be around him.
Right.
Like,
exactly.
Unfortunately, from his perspective, it actually did happen because I mean we're now watching it.
Right.
But like he didn't need, you know, for social media to come in and say like, oh, how brilliant is he?
Right. Yeah.
You know, he sort of just did it organically. Here in the third act, we find SpongeBob is buzzing around with his new friends when out of nowhere, Patrick comes in with a red fury to capture his old best friend, now turned jellyfish. After a harrowing chase scene, Patrick continues to attempt to make SpongeBob into a trophy. SpongeBob makes his way into a hive and Patrick is unable to reach him. After a heartfelt speech, our deeply disturbed Patrick gives up on making a trophy of his best friend, but SpongeBob begins to eat the jam in the jelly hive. Once the jellyfish return to see SpongeBob in their hive, they begin to sting him a new one. SpongeBob is then left in the wild without any friends. He attempts to sleep in the wild in a cave. Our distraught hero then wanders back to his pineapple, only to see that his friends have already staged a welcome home party. SpongeBob is back in Bikini Bottom and gives off a few hugs to his buddies, only to pass on a few poisonous sea urchins during the group hug. Everybody is happy and itchy again.
Yes.
This is a very strange ending, I will say.
Yeah.
Of all the endings to the episodes, they sort of present that like SpongeBob does this really genuine and beautiful thing in, you know, taking up this natural life.
Right.
And then the resolve of the episode is like, nope. JK.
Yeah.
Nope, don't do that. I get that there's like some bull crap involved, right? Like there's some like you're gonna have to give up your food. You're gonna have to give up like a comfy, warm bed.
Yeah.
You know, but it's like isn't that the pursuit of what he's doing?
Yeah.
Isn't that the very point of why he would ever go out in the wild is to see the other side of life?
I think a lot of it, I mean, honestly, just like as a viewer, you know, it's a kid's show. It's 15 minutes. It has to wrap up.
That's true.
However, you kind of want SpongeBob to like learn a lesson.
That's
like,
true.
There doesn't really have that like, I don't know. You want him to like start recycling or like, I don't know, like stop trying to eat as much.
Be practical in the midst of in the midst of like whatever silly thing that he's doing.
Yeah.
It's not really, it's just such a confounding ending. It's one of those endings that I feel like kids will look at their parents and they say like, well, why are we going to McDonald's? Mm-hmm. Like that one episode of SpongeBob would suggest that we need to do this more naturally.
Yeah.
You know, and instead of doing anything out of that instinct, you know, all of a sudden he just goes back and, you know, he's living his normal life.
Right.
Tim, what did you think about this whole segment?
I think we definitely need to talk about Patrick.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, Patrick obviously is not presented as like the smartest person.
Yeah, he's no intellect.
But it's like, it's like, oh my gosh, he's so, I mean, I want to use the word codependent, but it feels almost like more than that. He's like, SpongeBob has gone less than a day and he's already like, freak out. He like loses his mind.
Yeah, he goes off the deep end. He really resembles like Jack Nicholson in like The Shining.
That's very accurate.
You know, type thing. And the only like real thing that happened is that SpongeBob like left for seemingly like 10 hours.
Right.
Because he like seemingly left that morning, and then by the time it was nighttime, he went back to the pineapple.
Right. So it's like a day.
Yeah, and it's like within 2 hours, Patrick has just gone AWOL.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it's very strange because there are whole episodes in the series without Patrick.
Right.
And you just got to wonder what is going on. If Patrick's not in this episode, he's like probably burning down a city.
Right. Yeah.
Or he's doing something just vile
he's
somewhere
a vigilante.
else. Yeah, he has a whole other life. I mean, he has to. There's no way he can contain that jealous energy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? In any other way. It's just such a strange situation. Hey, Tim, do you believe in magic in a young girl's heart?
Typically, yeah, I would say yes.
How the music can free her whenever it starts?
Yeah, I felt the freeing power of music before.
And it's magic. If the music is groovy, it makes you feel happy, like an old-time movie.
I do love a good old-time movie.
I'll tell you about magic, and it'll free your soul, but it's like telling a stranger to rock and roll.
I don't know what that means.
Okay, well, make sure to check out the Magic Shop for all your magical and old-time groovy needs. All right, welcome back, you Sponge crew. We are here with the man, the myth, the Milky Michael G.
What's good?
He is our natural correspondent, talking all things natural. Today we are talking about nature pants. You like to spend a lot of time in the nature, don't you?
I do. Wife. I don't get to do it enough, but I love it when I do.
Well, I got a question for you, Michael.
I'm listening.
Where do babies come from? Is it nature?
Eric, I think we should have had this conversation some time ago. But yes, nature...
It's all natural.
It is, yeah.
Okay. Well, that's ambiguous. I'll have to Google it later.
It doesn't have to be. Sometimes babies can be manufactured.
Manufactured babies?
In a way, yes.
Wow.
There has to be a natural sense to it in some way, but
in some ways it should be natural too.
That's right. That's
the
great.
Natural balance. Yes. Tell me one of your craziest stories in the wild. One comes to mind when we were kids at Turkey Run.
That was the first one that came to mind, actually.
That's the first one that comes to mind with me too. So basically tell the story.
Okay, so
from your perspective, then I'll tell it from mine.
Was it high school or middle school?
It was middle school.
Okay, we were wee lads
go back.
a park called Turkey Run.
Turkey Run in Indiana.
Right.
What city is that in?
It's south of Indianapolis.
South of Indianapolis. I have no clue.
It's
you could have said east, and I'd be like,
actually,
it's
no.
east.
You know what?
Is it north?
I think it's actually southwest.
Southwest.
I think it's...
That's still south, so we're good.
My geography.
It's all good.
So I'm a little bit of the adventurous type, go-getter of sorts when it comes to being out on the trails. So there was a group of us going for a hike. Eric was one of the lads with me.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a path that veered off the beaten path. It was a path less taken.
It was a beaten path.
Okay. So we
it was down and
I wanted to see what was going on. So I took off, promising that I would come back. And went straight up a hill, looked back, and Eric decided to come with me. We made our way over the crest of the hill and down to the other side to find that it may have taken us longer than it should have.
Absolutely.
And when we tried to make our way back, our crew was nowhere to be found.
So my interpretation of the story is this cool guy that I was like, I think we had just met like a year or two ago.
We were newly friends.
Yeah.
Yes.
A cool guy that I had known is a runner, and I will go and follow him because he's cool.
That's right.
And I was like, okay, we'll be back with the group in like 10 minutes.
Right. Yeah.
And
that was the plan.
We were back in the group in like, what, 5 hours or something like that? It was like,
I don't think it was quite that long, but
it
basically
felt like 5 hours for me. It felt like 5 hours of straight running.
Right.
And I had never done something like that in my life. I'm pretty sure I was like gonna die.
Yeah, I didn't really take into consideration
that I had just played football and mostly on an offensive line perspective.
Right. So long story short, did we
encounter much in the wild?
We didn't encounter much, but we encountered a lot of path that didn't lead to where we wanted to go.
And old abandoned houses, as I remember.
That's right. That was a weird one. That was strange.
Yeah.
But eventually...
What a wild story.
We found our way back.
We did. And that was the first year of that youth leader. And like...
Yes.
That was a situation where he was like, oh, my first event, and I just lost the kids.
That's correct. Yes.
So, very wild story. Well, hey, thanks for sharing that story with us. You definitely have wild credentials.
Thank you.
Now, my last question for you is, would you ever join the show Naked and Afraid?
To be honest, I don't know much about it.
It's a show where basically they take all your clothes off and they throw you in the middle of the woods, and you have 4 fully clothed cameramen who are just following you around, wearing their underwear, doing their life.
Yeah.
And you're just naked and afraid. Would you ever do something like that?
What's the goal?
The goal, I think, is to survive.
Okay. The goal is to survive.
It's a lot like this episode of SpongePod where basically SpongeBob takes off all his clothes and enjoys his Jellyfish Fields.
Yes.
Would you ever do something like this in real life?
I don't like the idea of having 4 cameramen shooting me as a naked man.
Okay.
But I think...
What if it was camera woman?
No.
Less so?
Even less so. Less so. I think I would do it if it was just me.
Okay, if you were recording yourself.
And it was like they would drop me off in the middle of nowhere,
and
naked
you're just
and
taking
afraid.
selfies like on Snapchat or something?
Right. So I could strategically shoot the things that I wanted people to see and not see.
Very good.
I think I would do it, yes.
You would do it.
Yeah.
I would probably not do it just because, first off, me being naked is not a very flattering sight. Secondly...
You're describing more of America than we'd like to admit.
Yeah, and secondly, like, I just don't get like, we have, like, shopping malls.
We do.
Why do we have to be naked and afraid? Anyway, thank you for joining us here on the SpongePod. That is Milky G, Michael Gearhart. All right, that was awesome. So happy about this episode. We are back in full force here with the SpongePod Season 2. Yep. We are not taking a year in between episodes. This has been fun. This is a really good episode. Yeah, it's a very strange one.
Yes.
It's on a long list of these strange ones that we've been covering lately. But I'm happy that we're here. I just want to give a quick shout out to our data research. Is Ferdinand Magellan. We have our associate producer, Meriwether Lewis. Our creative producer is William Clark. Our childcare producer is Christina Crosley. Our office assistant is Zach Cooper. Audio engineer is Jessica Brummett. Music by the DJ Eugene. And music and cover art by the man, the myth. Y'all know him, the Milky Michael G. All right, make sure to check us out on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube at The SpongePod. Make sure to shoot us an email if you ever have any questions. Another good episode under our belts, yes. My buddy Tim. Go, my book, and help destroy the world as it is while they watch SpongeBob. Yeah.
That's a good one. That's a deep one.
A deep pull, as they will. You already looked at the document.
I did.
So
I tried not to go.
Oh, man. I hope the viewers can guess.
Is it King Kong?
It is not King Kong. Anyway, hope you guys have a great week.